Hello, how are you? Corey Wilkins here with Corey's Drum Takes, and it just occurred to me that a lot of times people like studio tours, and I've kind of set out to make my humble little studio the best one-room attached garage studio I could possibly afford to make it. I want to take you in and have you check it out. Now this here is really the heart of the studio. This is just a 24 channel analog mixing console. It is an Allen and Heath GL2400. Our little controls up here, phantom power and phase flip, your tape returns, gain, high pass filter. We have a 4-band EQ. We can turn it on and off so you can bring it in and out of the circuit. We have 6 sends on each channel. We have our pan. We have our mute. We have our AFL, PFL. And then we have our assignment. So you have the master left, right, outs. Then you have bus 1, 2, and bus 3, 4. You can assign them to 1 or none or all 3. Master section's pretty simple. Here are the faders for buses 1 and 2, buses 3 and 4. Your main outs. You can pan your buses. Then you have you got cool effects returns here. So one of them is hooked up to I believe an Alesis unit, and the other is hooked up to a Lexicon. And you have 8 more channels over here. I have the 2 left-right main outputs from the console going just this small little Pro Tools interface. Oh, let's move that guitar pedal out of the way. Just really simple. Those 2 XLRs plugged in the front of that are coming from the main left-right outputs on the console. Here's the rack. This 3630 compressor that we have here, this I have set up to do parallel drum compression on buses 1 and 2. So I'll send my drums to the master bus, and then I will send like kick snare and toms to bus 1, 2 to get ridiculous amounts of compression, and then just kind of blend them in. Sometimes I won't do parallel compression and I'll just send all my drums to bus 1, 2, and I'll apply a little bit of light compression to the whole drum bus. We have like a little reverb unit here. I think that one's from Alesis. And then under that we have the Lexicon. Then we have a Lexicon that doesn't work anymore, and then we have our headphone amp. Down here we actually have an Alesis HD24, which I actually record onto this, my multi-tracks. I don't record my multi-tracks into Pro Tools. I record them to the HD24, mix them out here on the console, and all I'm using Pro Tools for 99% of the time is just my final master bus, printing the mix off the console into Pro Tools. Definitely a ridiculous amount of gear, more than what you need to just record drum covers or whatever. But I actually do have clients who come into the studio to record. My band Fuzz Huzzi does all of our recording here. We're about ready to start an album. That's why I've kind of started to clean the place up a little bit so we have plenty of room to work. And my friend Eddie Salcido, who's going to be coming in the same week. I'm a firm believer in value for money, mostly because, I'm broke. So I want to try to find the best deals on equipment that I can find where the equipment is still going to function well. For example, if you look at these monitors right here, I have a pair of these LSR 305s from JBL. They're nothing fancy, but they do fine. So you're going to find a lot of budget gear in my compression rack, but it is decent budget gear that really does the job pretty well for the price. You'll see up here on the first level, we have a pair of DBX 163 over easy compressors. I primarily use those for kick and snare on mixdown, but I will also use them to record on the way in. When you have a limited amount of compression, sometimes it's important to compress some things on the way in, so you're using fewer units on your mixdown. Below that, we have a DBX166. That's 2 channels. It's a stereo compressor. It has gates on it, so a lot of times I'll use those gates for my toms. Below that, we got another 3630, which is set up not to have the 2 channels paired together, so I can use those as 2 channels of compression rather than running it in stereo mode. We got another 166, and I don't even know if it's plugged in. And down below that, we have our Warm Audio 1176 or WA76, and we have our patch bay, which has a bunch of insert cables, and then the TRS snakes around the back of here. You don't want to look at that. It's an absolute disaster area. So that's kind of some of the studio gear. Let's get to some of the things we use to actually make music. For bass guitar, 9 times out of 10, we use this little guy. It's just a very small solid state head. You have an XLR direct output, which is usually where we get our signal from. We don't mic the cab or anything like that. We do have a cab back here, just, you know, for the bass player to monitor what he's playing and whatever. So down here, you notice it's actually facing against the wall, because when we record, I want as little bass guitar coming through the drum mics as I can possibly get. We also have this bass cab here, this giant thing. I haven't actually hooked it up yet. I don't have the right cables. We have an extra snare drum sitting up top here. That's fun. So we have that, but it's currently not in use. Here we have boxes of all my CDs that have gone straight to cardboard. You know, some people's albums go gold, some go platinum, mine go cardboard. Here's the proof. This here is a PV Classic 50. I've replaced the speakers in it with Celestion M70s, the modern leads. I think the Blue Marvels and the original PVs are pretty bad speakers. This is Allen's pedal board. I was doing some work on it the other day, so that's why it's sitting up here. See this mic stand here? This is a heavy-duty guy. That's usually going to house like the microphones for overheads for the drums, or just anything that needs to be super stable, anything that's going to be a heavier capsule. And we're moving over into keyboard and piano land. So these are our keyboards. We have just like this cheap little Casio here or whatever it is. It's got a few decent piano sounds on it. And also you can use a USB to use it as a MIDI controller to run the instrument library on Pro Tools. Up on this second tier, we have a Nord Electro 261. This is a really fantastic Hammond sim. You actually have these buttons for the drawbars, 9 drawbars. You have your Leslie speed controller here. You can actually overdrive it with that button there. It's really pretty cool. There's also a decent Rhodes sound on there, and things like that. The piano kind of sucks, so normally I'll just use the piano on this one, or I'll use the piano in the Pro Tools MIDI library, or I will use the upright piano. That happens sometimes. It's massively out of tune right now. I'm not much of a pianist. Let's see what we got. Works. This is drumland over here. We got a little bit of sound absorption behind us here, so this back wall isn't too reflective into the close mics on the drums, which are not set up yet. You may have seen my review of the mics that I use for most of the drums. We have this D112, and then I've got 3 of these, the Sennheiser E604s. For this kit, this is actually my sister's kit. It's a bigger kit than mine. This is a PDP FS Birch drum kit with 4 toms. She's got all Zildjian cymbals here, and doesn't use as many cymbals as I do. But hey, look, she's got a pair of Geo sticks sitting on the floor tom. Good job, Laura. So this bag right here is still packed for my gigs. I just brought it in out of the van to show it to you, to show you the microphones, but like I keep my sample pad in here, and I gotta run this back out to the van as soon as I'm done with this video because I got a gig tonight. So that's my sample pad. Get a lot of percussion sounds out of that, hand claps, finger snaps, all that. The snare that we have set up on this right now is the PDP 20th anniversary maple. You gotta check this out. This thing is a beauty. I love the sound of it. I love playing this drum. It's super cool. I've never actually gigged with it. I gotta talk to my sister about that and see if we can change that. This is the pretty much empty beer fridge. We gotta fix that problem. We actually do have a little PA head here. We rehearse in here. So that's a thing. Underneath that, oh, phone charger, right? Gotta have that. Underneath that, this is our snake. So this is a 24 channel snake, and it goes all the way around back to the console and is plugged into all the inputs on the console. All right, let's have a look at microphone. So this cheap ass plastic cabinet here houses all my microphones. Before we get to that, I will show you my kind of pride and joy microphones of the studio. I got these from my best friend and recording mentor. Well, I guess I actually got them from his wife. Sadly, he passed away from leukemia about 5 years back. These are Peluso P12s, tube condensers. You got the power supply here. We set this down so I can pull out a microphone. This is the actual microphone. You see I put a little piece of tape on that because I can't feel the logo, so I just know that the front is where the tape is, and now I'm turning the microphone around so that I'm talking into it properly. Little adaptations you have to make when you can't see. So I have a pair of these, and we'll open up this cabinet. On this top shelf, I have a bunch of percussion, tambourines, other tambourines. We got a bag with like some shakers and such. Then we have a couple of these. Ooh, I almost dropped one. I don't even remember what model these are, but they're kind of like cheap versions of 58s. I pretty much just use these for like live gigs. They're not mics I record with all that often, although I have before. I have a handful of these. These are Sennheiser 609s. They're side address microphones. The sound comes in here, and they're really great for, say, guitar amps if you're running short on SM57s that day. I've used them on snare. Got a 58 kicking around because, yeah, gotta have a 58. Probably got, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these. This is just exactly what it looks like. Shure SM57, one of the best microphones ever made in the whole wide world. You could record an entire album, every single sound source, with nothing but 57s, and it would sound great, including kick drum. Van Halen did it. So that's kind of the top shelf stuff. This next shelf down, we have one of my favorite microphones, and it looks really cool too. This is an Aston Spirit. You have like 3 different polar patterns. You have a pad, a high pass filter. It's rugged as hell. It's good on acoustic guitars, good on pianos, good on a lot of stuff. I have a pair of these. I've been using them on drum overheads. They're also fantastic on acoustic guitars and mandolins. It is the SM81 by Shure. They're really great. Small diaphragm condenser microphones. Sound awesome on pretty much all acoustic instruments. This microphone is the first condenser that I ever bought. It's not that great, but I do keep it around. I have used it before. This is, I believe, an AKG P220, if I'm not mistaken. You know, just very low price, large diaphragm condenser. You got a pad and a high pass filter. There are better microphones out there these days for the money, but I think I bought that in 2007. Well, I actually have a couple of these. These are also inexpensive large diaphragm condensers, but they're pretty awesome. This is a Cad M179, and I have two of these. They have this wheel that changes the polar pattern. It's got a detent in the middle, which is cardioid. You can widen it out to omni, or you can go back the other way and you can narrow it up and then it'll hit figure 8. And then you have a pad and a high pass filter on that. Pretty cool little budget mic, those. So I have two of those. Then I want to show you a really cool microphone that I have. Actually, I have two of these as well. As you see, I like to buy things in pairs. These are ribbon microphones. This is a Samson VR88. It's a very inexpensive ribbon microphone. They are very cool. They sound a little bit darker. They have like sort of a nice roll off on the top end. Very old school. I've used these for drum overheads. A lot of people sort of get the misconception that you can't introduce a ribbon microphone to high SPL. And mostly you can. You can't introduce a ribbon microphone to high wind. So if you're gonna like sing into it with a lot of plosives and things like that, you need to make sure that you have a very good pop screen in front of it or you will break the ribbon. But in general, any kind of normally loud SPL like drums is not gonna damage the ribbon. This is my newest microphone acquisition. This is a Shure SM7B. Fantastic for a lot of different functions, probably most well known for vocals. A lot of sort of more aggressive vocalists have used this microphone over the years. James Hetfield from Metallica comes to mind. A lot of hip hop guys have used this microphone. I have a pretty aggressive voice. I can't wait to track my vocals with it. Alan has a pretty aggressive voice from Fuzz Huzzi. I can't wait to track his vocals with it. But this microphone was also used on Michael Jackson, so it's not exactly a one-trick pony. This is the harmonica microphone that I did that drum video with. It's so cool. It even smells old. It smells like it's from the 60s. This thing is rad. I love it, and I can't wait to use it as much as I possibly can when we are recording Fuzz Huzzi. We have various and sundry other drum microphones. We have like a small diaphragm condenser here. This one happens to be, I have a pair of these. They came in like an old drum mic kit, probably around the same time I bought that first large diaphragm condenser, 2007, 2008. These, I don't remember what they are, but they happen to be very bright and maybe sometimes a little brittle sounding. Not necessarily my go-to. I think this was out of the same set for the kick drum. This actually sounds quite good. I've used it a number of times. The D112 maybe sounds a little bit better. I think this is a Carvin that like is for snares and toms and stuff. Basically supposed to have a similar profile to like a 57 or something like that. It gets a little bit murky in the lower mid-range, like sort of in that like 300 to 500 hertz range. Not my favorite microphone, but in a pinch, it definitely will get a recording. Just know that you might have to be a little bit more heavy-handed with your EQ. This is where I keep cables and things like that. A lot of XLR cables in here in this little chest here. There's another one underneath it. I keep like some guitar pedals and things like that. Things that I don't maybe use all the time. There's a drum head in here. I need to change some heads. The cool thing about these little trunks here, they actually belonged to Kathy's uncle, who was a longtime Marine Corps guy. These trunks were in Korea during the Korean War in the early 50s, and they were also in Vietnam. So they've been all around the world, which is super cool. This is one of my favorite little amplifiers right here. This is a Fender Pro Junior. It's got a single 10-inch speaker. It's equipped with a pair of EL84 power tubes and 12AX7s in the preamp section. Sounds really great. Awesome natural distortion. This is Alan's cab here. Oh, Yeah, this guy, Allen's cab. His head is actually with him. It's a soft tech because he's a communist. But no, it's a soft tech, so it's a very similar to, say, like a Marshall JCM 800 kind of vibe has going on. Still a little bit of a mess over here. I gotta fix that. And this is a guitar rack. Let's see. What do we have? Starting at the end. Oh, we have our cheap little Fuzz Huzzi bass, which is awesome. Great to have a bass in the studio. Then we have Natasha. This is Jeff's guitar, which I inherited, but it is an honor to get to play that guitar whenever I want to. Super cool. We have this Dean 12-string electric. If you're ever feeling like Birds or Tom Petty or anything like that, we got that one. We have my baby. That's my Telecaster. That is #1 for me. Play that guitar more than any when I'm playing on stage. We have an Ibanez, which I have tuned down a fourth. Doesn't get played often, but when you need those really heavy kinds of sounds, there it is. It's got EMGs in it. I mean, what do you want? We have a American Stratocaster. Pretty awesome. Can never go wrong with a Strat. And then we have our Taylor 814 CE. And I love this guitar. So needless to say, much more than beating on drums goes on in here, and doing some drum covers and stuff like that. This is a fully functional rehearsal room for some of the bands that I'm in. It's a recording studio for my band and for other bands. And I just try to make it as well equipped and comfortable as I possibly can. So yeah, this is my little space. It's like sort of my cave, you know. This is where I hang out a lot of the times when I'm not chasing the kids around. You'll probably find me in here. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Talk to you soon.